In the last video, we looked at the importance of hustle mode and why it's absolutely needed to get your business off the ground. In today's video, we're going to look at what can go wrong and how you can escape hustle mode when you need to. Hello, I'm Shane from IMimpact.com, and if you haven't seen the last video about hustle mode, I'll link to that below. The idea is when you get started, and especially as a solopreneur, it takes this kind of obsessive dedication to get your business off the ground. It's because it's just you usually making this Herculean effort to try and conjure a business out of thin air, and that does take a lot. But what happens when your business actually takes off and when it actually gets rolling? Well, there's a certain danger there because you will find yourself in a situation where, the stuff you did to get the business from zero to there is not the same stuff that will get your business growing further. So the efforts you're making are not scalable. And there are three things that can happen that get you stuck in like entrepreneurial purgatory. And if you don't recognize them early enough and change, that could be the end of your business. So the first thing that can happen is very simple. It's just stagnation, right? And that is when you are just working at maximum capacity and you simply cannot take on any more work. And so your business just stagnates. It grows up to a certain point and it stops growing because at that point you just can't do any more. And so maybe you're working super hard, you're working the most you can possibly work, and maybe you're making a decent amount of money, maybe you're not even making that much money, and it's just consuming your whole life. You probably hate your life at this point because all you do is work and you can't escape your work anymore. It's just always at full capacity. The second problem that can happen is, well, either a balloon pop or a slow collapse. That is when the demand for whatever you're offering keeps rising and you just can't keep up, right? So demand keeps rising, you keep getting more customers, more clients and so on, but you simply cannot, at some point you can no longer carry this whole weight by yourself basically, and something starts slowly collapsing. So something about your offer starts getting worse, and usually that's customer support is one of the first things that starts to suffer because you just can't keep up, right? Or maybe the quality of the service you're offering goes down, or something gets slowly worse. And if it keeps going, you keep having to work more. Your reputation might take a hit because word gets out that things aren't going that well. Unsatisfied customers keep piling up. And at some point, the business just collapses under the weight of the demand that you just can't fulfill anymore. And obviously this is one of the worst things that can happen, an extremely painful experience. And then the third scenario, which is also quite common, is what I call reluctant growth. And that is essentially when the second situation happens, the demand keeps going, like the business keeps rolling, demand keeps going up, and you get to a point where you realize I just can't possibly do any more, and you kind of reluctantly hire someone or partner up with someone or take someone on to help carry the load, right? So you're basically working and working and taking on more and more work until it's absolutely impossible for you to do any more. You can see some part of the business is starting to suffer, and reluctantly you make the decision, okay, I'm going to get some help to start propping this up to prevent this from sliding into chaos. And so then you have some help, which means you can scale a bit further, the business keeps growing, and again you get to the point where you are working at your absolute maximum. The person you helped to hire to help you is also working at maximum potential. They just can't do any more, and again you go, well, okay, I guess we don't have any other options, I'm going to hire someone else. And this can keep going, and it can also mean that you kind of have plateaus and then a bit of growth and plateau and a bit of growth and so on. And every time you just go to the absolute maximum until everybody almost has a nervous breakdown, and then you decide, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to hire someone to keep this going. And again, it's, here your business is growing and it's not in danger of completely collapsing, but this is not really what you started the business for, right? Because again, you're in a situation where you probably hate your life most of the time. You can't take a vacation. You're always stressed. You're always worried and so on. And even though your business is growing, this is not what it was supposed to feel like. So what's the solution to this mess? Well, here's the thing. That's why this is about escaping hustle mode, right? At this point, if your business is growing like this, it's no longer your job to just work as hard as possible, as long as possible, and then maybe make others suffer with you. At some point, you have to start thinking more like a business, and it's more about setting up a system that will work and that will make this business sustainable. And if you're doing the reluctant growth thing, if you're in the third type of entrepreneurial purgatory that I just talked about, you already know the recipe. You just got the timing wrong. So really the easiest solution is, instead of always going to the red line, instead of always going to the absolute limit before you take on some help, do it before then, right? All you have to do is change the timing, and you hire people before it's almost too late. And that's how most businesses, that's how most healthy businesses grow, right? It's really just a matter of timing. Instead of being kind of always limping behind demand and always suffering, you just stay slightly ahead of the curve, and you make sure that you hire and systematize and automate before it's absolutely painfully necessary. Of course, this is easier said than done, and I'll also link to another video where I talk a bit about how to find good people to hire and outsource to. But one of the most important things is this mindset shift, right? One of the most important things is realizing I'm no longer in hustle mode. It's no longer just all up to me. I have to actually start thinking about this, almost start thinking as the business as a separate entity more than just an extension of yourself, and start managing the business rather than working in the business. And the final point is about whether you can afford this or not. If you find yourself in the situation where you are working at your maximum capacity and you can't even afford to hire someone, that's simply a sign that your business is not viable, because a business has to be able to pay for the work time, for the man hours it needs to run, right? And if that's not the case, you have to increase your prices, and if no longer buys at the higher prices, then it means your business is not viable, which can be a painful realization as well, but that's the way it is. And again, that's, a part of the mindset is, if a business is going to work, it has to be able to pay for itself. And after, in the post-hustle mode phase of your business, you have to be in the position where you can look at it like that and say, okay, to make this business work, it has to be able to pay for itself, and it's my job to manage it in such a way that it does. So let me know which of these three phases that you are currently stuck in, or maybe you're still pre-hustle yourself, and let me know your own experiences with going through these phases, getting into and escaping hustle mode. And as always, if you have any questions, just leave a comment below and I'll try to reply to all of them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.